The Experimental Aircraft Association recently extended Skies Magazine an invitation to attend the annual ground school for B-17 pilots in Lakeland, Florida. Only about a dozen B-17s remain airworthy, so an hour in the left seat was a rare privilege indeed, and a unique opportunity to see how World War II looked from the perspective of the courageous aircrew that flew heavy bombers. Prior to my turn at the controls, I was offered a chance to ride along as a group of other pilots ran through their annual check rides. It was a wonderful opportunity to sample the other crew positions. The most visually exciting was certainly the bombardier's station in the nose. Looking through the famous Norden bomb site as the terrain slipped through the reticle sent a chill down my spine. After a refueling stop, it was my turn in the pilot's seat.
Mr. Erdos?
Sir.
That was a fine takeoff.
Beginner's luck.
Yep, just wanted you to know.
The B-17 gave the impression of terrific solidity. The yokes and throttles were all hefty and strong. Nothing would have seemed out of place in a locomotive. Shortly after takeoff, one of my first impressions was of the awful mechanical properties of the B-17's unique throttles. In fairness, each throttle mechanism wends its way under the cockpit floor, down the fuselage, through the wings, and into the nacelles before arriving at its respective carburetor. Consequently, all of the slack and flex in the hardware worked against any subtle throttle inputs. Careful jabbing and poking seemed to do the trick. While unscientific, I felt that the B-17 flew like it was designed in the 1930s, which, of course, it was, unrefined and utilitarian in every way. Elliot talked me through an airborne shutdown of the No. 2 engine. The process was quick and simple, and I recall thinking the procedure was really no big deal. Then, the realization returned that B-17 pilots didn't just loaf along over central Florida. Wartime pilots flew a bomber that was thousands of pounds heavier, through skies torn into turbulent shreds by multiple hundred plane formations, under assault by fighters and anti-aircraft fire. Staring at that stationary propeller, the reality of the Fortress pilot's mission became real to me. I imagined the fellow who occupied my seat during the war, perhaps 22 years old, with barely 300 hours in his logbook, shepherding a 10-man crew through hostile skies. I try to picture flying the B-17 in that context, but words fail me. Imagining that young pilot, I felt gratitude. Flying the B-17 was a humbling privilege, but doing so on a peaceful Florida evening was utterly incongruous to the reality of a B-17 pilot's life. Their experience was characterized by fear, sweat, fatigue, and, all too often, mortal sacrifice. The EAA operates aluminum Overcast in respectful dedication to those who served their country in war. A very honorable mission indeed. Reporting for Skies Magazine, I'm Rob Erdos.